Started. We'll do the Mangala Charnam. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitanyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Vivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Bye. So, welcome to the Bhagavad Gita class. So verse for the week is 1426. So turn there. And we'll say the Sanskrit together. Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Study. Mam chaya vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. And the song for the translation is one who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahma. Whew. All right, very good, thank you. So we are picking up here. This is a nice section. So we're reading chapter 16, the divine and demoniac natures. And we've been hearing a lot about the demoniac nature. And today, Krishna's going to do a little monologue. He's taking the role of the demon, and he's speaking as if he was a demon. So let's read that. Go ahead, can pass to you. So this is chapter 16, text 13 to 15 from Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Idam adya maya labdam, imam prapsye manoratam, idam astidam api me, bhavishyati punardhanam, aso maya hata shatrur, hanishye chaparan api, Ishvaroham aham bogi, siddhoham balavan sukhi, adyo bijanavam asmi, konyosti sadrisho maya, yakshye dasyami modishya, ityagana vimohita. So I'll just read this. So this is Krishna, he's saying, the demoniac person thinks, so much wealth do I have today, and I will gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now, and it will increase in the future. More and more. He is my enemy, and I have killed him, and my other enemies will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything. I am the enjoyer. I am perfect, powerful, and happy. I am the richest man, surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. I shall perform sacrifices. I shall give some charity, and thus I shall rejoice. In this way, such persons are deluded by ignorance. So this is the thinking of a demoniac person. So yeah, a lot of people in the world like this today, that they're just like, yeah, so much money do I have now? And I have all these plans to get more and more money in the future, right? They're always just thinking, how can I earn more money, and scheming, and even if it's some scam or, something like that, some cheating thing, it's like they don't care. Get money, it's good. So yeah, it's going to increase in the future. And then of course, when you think like that, when you're just thinking about getting more and more money for yourself, then of course you're going to have enemies, right? Because there are going to be other people who are going to want the money. They're going to want to also try to scam you for your money. So then the person who's just trying to get more and more money, they're seeing, oh, this person is my competitor. This person is out to get me. This person is trying to expose me and expose my corruption or something. So then he says, that person, these people are all my enemies. And what do I do with them? Kill them, get them out of the way. Just silence them permanently before they expose me or do something to bring me down. So because he does, and then he does that thinking that he's getting away with it. He's already killed some of them and he's planning to kill more. These leaders who, like, anybody who disagrees with them or, speaks out against them, they just end up in a grave somewhere. By some mysterious means, right? So then, yeah, I am the Lord of because they have that money and power, and they can just kill people like that. They think that they're the controllers. So I'm the Lord of everything. I'm the enjoyer. I'm perfect, powerful, and happy. So we were talking about, in the last two classes, we were talking about how demoniac people are in so much anxiety, right? They're like in total anxiety all the time. And yet they're in this illusion that they think they're happy. So yeah, the Ishvaraham Aham Bogi, that I am the Ishvara, I'm the controller, and I'm also the Bogi. Bogi, like Boga means that which is to be enjoyed. And they think, so they think I'm the Bogi. I'm the person who enjoys the Boga, the enjoyable things. And then Siddho Ham, so I am perfect, I'm a Siddha. And Balavan, Bala means strong. I'm powerful. And Sukhi, happy. So they think they're happy. But Krishna says at the end, Iti Agyana Vimohita, that in this way they're Vimohita, they're deluded. They're totally like delusional about their actual situation. And Agyana, they're very ignorant. They're ignorant of the actual situation, even their own situation. And that they think that they're going to be happy by killing people and cheating people and using all kinds of like corrupt schemes to get money and power. They think that they're going to be okay with that. No, because there actually is a God in control, as much as they want to deny it. And there are laws of karma, as much as they want to deny them. And there is a life after this one. So even if you seem to be like winning in this life, next life is going to be pretty gloomy if you're doing demoniac things. So, and we were talking about this yesterday, about how sometimes these demoniac people, they know the Vedas, they study the scriptures, but just for the sake of, using them for their dark purposes. So like he says here, I shall perform sacrifice. I shall give charity. Thus I shall rejoice. So yeah, because they understand the science of these things, that if you do some yajna, then you're going to get some boon, right? Like, yeah, that's what Hiranyakashipu did, and that's what Ravana did, and so many of these like big demons in the scriptures, they did sacrifices, they gave charity, and from that they actually got power. They got power. Because when you do those things, then you get rewarded. But then the rewards that they get, they misuse for just demoniac purposes. And yeah, they may be rejoicing temporarily, but in the long term, they're not going to be very joyful. Okay, which is what Krishna is going to say in the next verse too. So let's go to 16. Aneka chitta vibranta mohajala samavritaha prasakta kama bhogeshu patanti narakeshu cho. Want to read Bhagavad?
Yeah. Thus, perplexed by various anxieties and bound by a network of illusions, they become too strongly attached to sense enjoyment and fall down into hell. The demonic man knows no limit to his desire to acquire money. That is unlimited. He thinks only of how much assessment he has just now and schemes to engage that stock of wealth further and further. For that reason, he does not hesitate to act in any sinful way and so deals in the black market for illegal gratification. He is enamored by the possessions he has already, such as land, family, house, and bank balance, and he is always planning to improve them. He believes in his own strength and he does not know that whatever he is gaining is due to his past good deeds. He is gaining an opportunity to accumulate such things, but he has no conception of past causes. He simply thinks that all his mass of wealth is due to his own endeavor. A demonic person believes in the strength of his personal work, not in the law of karma. According to the law of karma, a man takes his birth in a high family or become rich or well educated or very beautiful because of good work in the past. The demonic think that all these things are accidental and due to the strength of one's personal ability. They do not sense any arrangement behind all the varieties of people, beauty, and education. Anyone who comes into competition with such a demonic man in his enemy, there are many demonic people, and each is enemy to the others. This enmity becomes more and more deep between persons, then between families, then between societies, and at last between nations. Therefore, there is constant strife, war, and enmity all over the world. Each demonic person thinks that he can live at the sacrifice of all others. Generally, a demonic person thinks of himself as the supreme God, and a demonic preacher tells his followers, why are you seeking God elsewhere? You are all yourselves God. Whatever you like, you can do. Don't believe in God. Throw away God. God is dead. These are the demoniac's preachings. Although the demonic person sees others equally rich and influential, or even more so, he thinks that no one is richer than he and that no one is more influential than he. As far as promotion to the higher planetary system is concerned, he does not believe in performing yagnas or sacrifices. Demons think that they will manufacture their own process of yagya and prepare some machine by which they will be able to reach any higher planet. The best example of such a demonic man was Ravana. He offered a program to the people by which he would prepare a staircase so that anyone could reach the heavenly planets without performing sacrifices, such as the prescribed such as are prescribed in the Vedas. Similarly, in the present age, such demonic men are striving to reach the higher planetary systems by mechanical arrangements. These are examples of bewilderment. The result is that without their knowledge, they are gliding toward hell. Here, the Sanskrit word mohajal is very significant. Jal means net. Like fish caught in a net, they have no way to come out.
Mm. Yeah, so they're actually really suffering with all kinds of anxieties, bound by a network of illusions, too strongly attached to sense enjoyment, and they fall down to hell. So they're not actually very perfect or very powerful or very happy. It's all an illusion. Yeah. And maybe they did something good in the past life, so they have some good karma that, they're getting money and they're getting position or whatever. But if they're not doing good things in this life with those, taking those opportunities to do good, then they're not going to have it in the next life. So that's the challenge, is that see what happens is people do good things in one life and then they get the results in the next life and then they think, oh, I'm very well situated. You can lord it over people and do whatever I please. And then you see people who are born in like wealthy families or like
Yeah.
highly positioned families, high class families, they tend to be like the more degraded people because they can, because they have money to buy alcohol and drugs and all kinds of sense gratification, eat meat and all these things. So you see like poor people, uh, especially like in a country like India, the very poor people, they're all vegetarians because they can't afford to buy meat,
Yeah.
because it's more expensive. So they're just basically eating rice, dal, chapati, some local vegetables. They actually have a very healthy diet, because they don't buy like processed foods and meat and yeah, they just basically just like buy bulk rice, bulk dal, bulk flour and make their chapatis and they don't, no sweets, right? So yeah. And then because they're poor, then they pray a lot, because they realize their helplessness. So they pray, they try to, take care of each other and unless they're like, bad people, then they might steal or something like that. But generally, like a lot of poor people tend to be simple and pious. They'll go to temple and pray for help. And then so in the next life, they end up in a better situation, but then they're like, woohoo, now I've got money, now I've got resources, I can eat meat, I can drink alcohol, I can, just indulge in all kinds of like rich foods and going out, going to clubs and bars and things like that. And then next life poor again. Right. So we have to learn that when we have resources, it's a gift from Krishna and we're meant to use them in his service. So it's just like, if there's a child and a child has very good behavior and, has a very sweet relationship with the parents and is obedient and, a good boy, whatever, then the parents will entrust him with some responsibilities, like maybe give him some money and send him down to the store to buy something. But then if he's like, oh, now I got some money and nobody's looking, and then he goes and buys like cigarettes or something like that, and then just goes behind the back of the store and smoking cigarettes with his friends or something, and then he gets caught, then it's like, yeah, then the parents aren't going to give him money again, right? Because he had it and he abused his privilege. So that's just natural, right? Krishna's like the father of everyone, seed-giving father. So when we win his trust by our good behavior, then he gives us privileges. But then if we misuse the privileges, they get removed. And that's basically what's going on in the world. So the thing is, when we get privileges, then we have to use them properly, responsibly, and for Krishna's service, and then we'll get more privileges, right? And then we'll just use them responsibly and we'll get more privileges, and then we'll be living a privileged life. But as soon as we think, oh, I'm privileged, I can do whatever I want, then we lose all the privileges. Yeah, Kunti.
Is saving a bad use of money?
Saving for the future. Well, even Rupa Goswami said like 25% we should save for emergencies, 25% of your income. Right? He said 50% give in charity to Krishna conscious causes, and then 25% use for the family maintenance, and then 25% keep for emergencies. So that's kind of like savings, right? That's why you save money.
Well, like for me, it's past, like in high school, I worked. I'm obviously not a Grihasta. I've never been Grihasta so far. But all the money that I've got from my previous jobs when I was in high school or when I was in university, I didn't spend it. I kept on thinking that I would be able to travel, which is what I ended up doing with the money. Like I'm able to stay in Krishna's, I'm able to travel to the US, I'm able to go to India when I want to. And then if I get married, then I'll have a base
Right.
to use for the marriage, So that's how I'm living it. Mostly, I also get food here and there. I go out with friends, but I'm always like wondering because when I read those things about money, like give everything and whatever, I'm like, well, pretty much keeping everything.
Yeah, if you had done that, you wouldn't be able to go to India or travel in the
This
summer.
life.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's good to say, especially, I mean, you're a devotee, so, you're going to the Holy Dham, you're using it to go on pilgrimage, that's devotional service. So you can either give it to someone else for them to use in their devotional service, or you can keep it to use in your devotional service. The point is that it should be used for Krishna, right? So yeah, as long as we just, whatever we get, we keep using it for Krishna, then yeah, Krishna will protect that. He'll keep giving. He'll keep making arrangements by which we can have money because he sees that we're using it properly. So yeah, the same thing. Right? It's just like if you're a brahmachari living in the ashram. Yeah, so many years I was living as a brahmacharini in temples, and then I was going out in book distribution and collecting donations and then just giving all the money to the temple. And for maintaining the temple, right? Paying the rent, buying food for the devotees, paying the temple bills and things. And then later I got married, and then I continued going on book distribution and collecting donations, but then I'm using those donations to pay my own rent and buy boga to offer to our home deities for prasadam for the family, and yeah, paying the bills and expenses and things for our home, which was basically a temple, right? And everyone practicing Krishna consciousness and cooking for Krishna and having programs and things like that. So it's just the same thing. So yeah, the point is that the money should be used for Krishna. Whether you're giving to someone else to use for Krishna or using it yourself for Krishna, it's all going to Krishna. We shouldn't waste it. Yeah. Just like go out and just spend money whimsically or just without care. Ultimately it's like money is Krishna's energy, because it's kind of like a medium of energy, a medium of exchange, which can make things happen. So it's like it just looks like maybe a piece of paper, but it's actually like it's a token of energy. It's like units of energy, right? Because you can use it to do things like energies. So yeah, Krishna's energy should just be used in Krishna's service. And that's why we call it Lakshmi, right? In ISKCON we call it money. Instead of saying money, we say Lakshmi oftentimes. So Lakshmi means Lord Vishnu's energy, Lord Vishnu's, Shakti. So, and she exists to serve Krishna, to give pleasure to Krishna. And so that's what money is it's Krishna's energy, his Shakti, that's meant to be used for his pleasure. Okay. Yeah, I think it's wise to save. I mean, especially the world the way it is now. It's good to have a little bit of savings, and then you don't need to be a burden on others if there's like a period where you don't have an income or some need comes up, some medical expense or whatever, an accident or something, you need to travel, then you don't need to do a GoFundMe every time you need to do something.
Yeah.
Right. And in fact, you can maybe give to somebody else's GoFundMe, So it's kind of nice to have a little bit of a cushion there. Especially, I mean, if you're a sannyasi, then it's different. But, if you're a grihasta or a young person who's heading towards grihasta ashram, it's good to have that little cushion, financial cushion. Okay. All right. So let's go to text 17. Did someone have their hand up out there? No. Okay.
I did, but we can move on also.
No, go ahead. It's fine.
I was thinking someone, I forgot who it was, but they were explaining the money thing to me, like with the donating. First,
Yeah.
you pay all of your base necessities, and then like whatever's left, half of that you donate, half of that you put into savings, and then the other part you can use for something else.
Yeah.
But that would be all after you already paid everything, like
Right.
the groceries.
Yeah, that's what Konteya Prabhu was here, and he was giving a class. He had a whole PowerPoint about it, and he was like
Yeah.
making it very clear that this, 50% that you give in charity to Krishna conscious causes, that's like after you've, paid your rent, made your car payment, your health insurance, your phone bill, your water and electricity, and you've paid the kids' school fees and bought them their new shoes if they needed them or whatever, like the grocery bill and all the necessities of life, at least the basic necessities. And then whatever's left, then from that you divide into half and then give 50%. So it's like all of it that would be savings, but you give some of it. And yeah.
Because I remember when I was a kid, I don't know if I wasn't listening correctly, but that was not made clear to me. And I thought that was crazy. I was like, how am I going to live?
Yeah. I mean, because my mother, I think I mentioned this before, my mother was Christian and then she was taught to tithe. Tithe means you give 10%. And what she did was she gave 10% of her gross income. It wasn't even after taxes. So it was like, because gross income, it's like you don't even actually get that. I was like, Mom, like at least do it after taxes because it's the amount that you actually get. And she's like, no, I'm doing it before. And so she would literally like get her paycheck and then she would look at the number there and for the gross income, and then she would just move the decimal point, 2 places, and that's how much she would give, because 10%, right? Yeah.
She
So
never felt that what about if she needs it or in emergency? Like, I just want to think about this thought process, what made it.
yeah, because she has so much faith that, if you give to God, you're not going to lose. If you're giving, you should give to the church. So in her mind, she's giving to God, right? By giving to the church. And so I'm giving to God. God's not a poor man, like I'm doing my duty as a good Christian and tithing as Jesus wanted us to. I guess that was her understanding. So I'm doing what God wanted me to do, and he's gonna make an arrangement. He's gonna figure it out. And he always did. Even when she was working, she worked in the construction industry. So she would, like, in the summer times, because they were in north, like way upstate New York, near Canada. So it'd be like many months of just snow and cold where she couldn't work. So while she was working, she would earn quite well, but then there would be maybe like 4 or 5 months of the year where she was unemployed because of as soon as the ground was frozen, she couldn't work. So during that time, she was just getting unemployment benefits from the government, and even that she was giving 10%.
That's how she got you.
She had me before, but yeah, I mean, she was a very religious person. Okay. All right, text 17. Atmasambhavita stabda dhanamana madanvitaha yajante nama yagyaiste dambena vidhipurvakam. Did you read something? No, go ahead.
Self-complacent and always deluded by wealth and false prestige, they sometimes proudly perform sacrifices in name only, without following any rules or regulations. Thinking themselves all in all, not caring for any authority or scripture, the demoniacs sometimes perform so-called religious or sacrificial rites. And since they do not believe in authority, they're very. This is due to illusion caused by accumulating some wealth and false prestige. Sometimes such demons take up the role of preacher, mislead the people, and become known as religious reformers or as incarnations of God. They make a show of performing sacrifices, or they worship the demigods, or manufacture their own god. Common men advertise them as God and worship them, and by the foolish, they are considered advanced in the principles of religion or in the principles of spiritual knowledge. They take the dress of the renounced order of life and engage in all nonsense in that dress. Actually, there are so many restrictions for one who has renounced this world. The demons, however, do not care for such restrictions. They think that whatever path one can create is one's own path. There's no such thing as a standard path one has to follow. The word abhidipurvakam, meaning a disregard for the rules and regulations, is especially stressed here. These things are always due to ignorance and illusion.
Does that sound familiar here, where Prabhupada says they think that whatever path one can create is one's own path, and there's no like standard path? It's so common nowadays, right? That people are like, oh, I have my own path, right? When you try to tell them about Krishna consciousness, chanting Hare Krishna, it's okay, I have my own path.
Yeah.
Everybody says that. They're on like made up path. So that's demonic. Prabhupada's making it very clear. Yeah, because because they don't care about what the Lord
Mhm.
says, basically. You know, Krishna's saying, do this, and you're saying, I have my own path. I don't care about you. I don't care about what you think is, you know, your rules and regulations, your laws or whatever. I just do what I think, what works for me, my truth, my path, my journey, my whatever. So yeah, all this is really demonic. And we're going to see here, it's already been mentioned, but it will be emphasized more, is that really the defining characteristic of the demons is that they reject the authority of the scriptures and they just act whimsically. So that's what it is here. And then, yeah, there's an interesting point in the beginning of this purport that Prabhupada writes that it's basically like their wealth that leads to false prestige that causes them to think that they can just flout authority. They can just reject authority because they have money, right? They think with their money, they can just get whatever they want, do whatever they want, get away with whatever they want. Even if they get in some criminal trouble, they can pay the fine easily. They can bail themselves out of jail. They can, bribe the criminal justice system, can hire a really good lawyer. They can, yeah, just buy their way out of whatever, trouble they might get themselves into. So, yeah. So it says that this is due to illusion caused by accumulating wealth and false prestige. So this is why Krishna often takes people's wealth away. He says that the first installment of his mercy is that he takes away all their wealth. Because after taking away their wealth, then they become humble. They realize their dependence. Yeah. And they call out to Krishna, like, help me. What happened? I just lost all my money and all my friends and my job and everything and my whole identity, and my life is ruined without my money, and please help me. Why did you do this to me? So yeah, it puts them in a good place where they're open to some instruction, right? Spiritual instruction.
In accepting state. Like when there is no money, they feel so hopeless, and then they are ready to accept.
Yeah. And then they realize, oh my God, I made a lot of mistakes in life, like just valuing money and thinking that I had power and friends, and it was also precarious, Yeah, a lot of people realize that, during COVID, they thought they had everything going for them, bright future, and then all of a sudden, the business had to close down. They lost all their money. They couldn't even open it up afterwards. And yeah, it was like a rude awakening. So it was actually a very good time for spiritual life, for spreading Krishna consciousness. A lot of people became devotees during COVID, or at least became religious in some form, because they realized that this whole, materialistic civilization was just like as one Vaishnava poet said, like a drop of water on a lotus petal. It's just like tottering there, like a dewdrop in the morning, and the wind's blowing and it's shimmering and it's just going to roll off any second.
Yeah.
The civilization is just like, it's just shaking on the end of the leaf, and it's like a drop of water going to just roll off and crash any second. Yeah, especially with the leaders that we have, so selfish and impudent. Exactly what Krishna is describing here.
Yeah.
All about wealth and power, and just being so ignorant and delusional. So yeah.
I was just thinking, this is so sad reading all these things, like how at the time we are reading, all the people of the same characters are just coming in front of me. I have lived with them. It feels like all the Kali people are like that. They are like demons. I think Ravana was more pious than
Right?
all these Kali people.
Yeah.
Only after money, cheating everyone, and they think that it is good because that is their right. And
Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah, it's really bad. And then yeah, another thing is that these demoniac people who he says they make a show of performing sacrifices or worshiping demigods or manufacture their own god. So yeah, there's a lot of people that they're demonic. They'll go to church just to make a show, so that people will think, oh, they're a nice, good religious person because they show up in church, but actually it's just a cover for all the, like demoniac things that they're doing. And they win the trust of the people, and then they cheat them. That's what they do. Yeah. And then, yeah, they take advantage of innocent people. And then afterwards, when that person gets, abused or exploited or whatever, and, wants to tell people, wants to expose the person, then it's like nobody will believe them. Because why? Because they go to church every Sunday, they give in charity, they do sacrifice, like everyone sees them as a good religious person, and they don't believe that child that the person's like a pedophile, or the woman that he raped her, or something like that, all these things, or that they're like embezzling money from the church that they go to, or something, like all kinds of things happen like that. So yeah, that's what Prabhupada said. They take the dress of the renounced order of life and engage in all nonsense in that dress. So they just contaminate everything. And then it's such a disservice, not only to themselves and people that they cheat, but to the whole, the whole institution of religion in the world, because nowadays people lose faith. They lose faith. Like the Catholic Church, there have been so many cases of like child sexual abuse that it's like they lost faith in the priesthood. And in ISKCON also, there were so many cases of abuse in our schools, and now so many devotees just left because this is disgusting. I don't want to be a part of this movement. The process must not work if these people are like that. Like, what is this? Or how could the leadership of ISKCON let this go on for so many years? I don't want to be a part of it. So they leave. Yeah. So it undermines people's faith in religion. And also because throughout history, there have been a lot of wars, the Crusades, and, all these different wars that were based on religion, religious terrorism, right? Like all these Islamic terrorists. Yeah. And then common people just start thinking, I don't want to be a part of a religion, because they're just, religion is the cause for all the wars and hatred and, racism and all these things all over the world. What to speak of, the corruption, the hypocrisy, the abuse. So it causes people to turn away from God. It's because these demoniac people. So yeah, it's just because they misuse it, right? They don't go to church or a temple or a mosque for the right reasons. They don't put on they don't go into the priesthood or take sannyas or something for the right reasons. It's all about just getting prestige and looking good so that they can do their demoniac things. Really bad. Prabhupada would say, better if somebody is just like an atheist and a sinful person than that they mislead others in the name of religion. Right? Just, if you're going to be a rascal, just do it, but don't do it in the name of religion, because then it turns good people away from religion. And then what hope do they have for elevation? Very little. Okay. Yeah, that's from Shri Ishopanishad. All right, let's go to text 18. Ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodham cha samshitaha mam atma paradeheshu pradvishanto pyasuyakaha. Would you like to read, Draupadi?
Sure. Bewildered by false ego, strength, pride, lust, and anger, the demons become envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in their own bodies and in the bodies of others, and blaspheme against the real religion. A demoniac person, being always against God's supremacy, does not like to believe in the scriptures. He is envious of both the scriptures and the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is caused by his so-called prestige and his accumulation of wealth and strength. He does not know that the present life is a preparation for the next life. Not knowing this, he is actually envious of his own self, as well as of others. He commits violence on their bodies and on his own. He does not care for the supreme control of this personality of Godhead because he has no knowledge. Being envious of the scriptures and the supreme personality of Godhead, he puts forward false arguments against the existence of God and denies the scriptural authority. He thinks himself independent and powerful in every action. He thinks that since no one can equal him in strength, power, or wealth, he can act in any way, and no one can stop him. If he has an enemy who might check the advancement of his sensual activities, he makes plans to cut him down by his own power.
Yeah, so Krishna is saying again that these people are bewildered. Bewildered by what? Ahankaram, false ego, darpam, pride, kamam, lust, krodham, anger. So yeah, it's not a happy life to be just bewildered by lust and anger and pride and false ego. And it says that they become envious. Envious means that you want to hurt others, you want to bring others down. So they try to bring God down to their level or lower than their level, which is pretty low. But yeah, they try to destroy people's belief in God. Like there was one book that was written a while back called The God Delusion. You know, it was like a big book that was probably like a bestseller. It was very popular by this person who was like a scientist slash like philosopher or something. And yeah, I looked through it. It was like you walk into the bookstores and it was like right on the front. I don't know. It's Demoniac Civilization, like promoting the book, you know. And so many people were reading that, and it was just full of one argument after another against the existence of God, and that if anybody believes in God, they're deluded. Whereas its actual fact is the opposite, that if anyone rejects God, they're deluded. That's what Krishna is saying. So it's out of envy, you know, and it's no surprise because we heard previously in Bhagavad Gita that that icha dvesha samudbhava, that everyone is born into this material world bewildered by the dualities of envy, of desire and envy. Icha means desire and dvesha means envy. Prabhupada translates it hate. It's basically the same thing. Envy and hate are almost interchangeable. So it's like they want to be God and they hate the fact that Krishna is God. So they try to like, decry Krishna and, misinterpret his words and find fault with whatever he did or said, right? And make him out to be a total loser or an ordinary person or just a mythology or something like that in some way to undermine his position as a supreme personality of Godhead. So it's all because of envy, because they want to be God. And they can't be God if someone else already is. So they need to get that person out of the picture, and then they can, I'm perfect, powerful, and happy. Those are the qualities of God, right? Only God is perfect or pure devotee. God is the all-powerful, omnipotent one, and he's the supreme enjoyer. But they want to put themselves in that place, that I'm God, I'm perfect, powerful, and happy. Unfortunately, they're imperfect. Their power is only coming from their past karma, which is given to them by the grace of God, and which they don't recognize. And they may have an illusion of happiness, but it's very temporary. Yeah, because envious of himself, because he's denying his own soul, right? Because they say that there's no purpose to this world. It's just created. Life is just a result of sex life. It's just a result of cells coming together and emulsifying and multiplying, and there's no soul. And so, yeah, so envious of themselves means that they hurt themselves. Maybe not deliberately, but that's what it ends up being, is that they're basically killing themselves spiritually, which is the real self, right? They might be taking care of the body, but that's not them. It's kind of like bird in the cage thing, right? That taking care of the cage, but they're starving the bird and the bird's dying. So they're indulging the body in all kinds of sense gratification, but the actual person is just dying inside, no spiritual nourishment, and getting more and more covered by ignorance, more and more like just crushed by the weight of material conditioning and anarthas and all that. Yeah, so they're suffering more than anyone. And you see that, you see like, people who are just really kind of messed up and they cause a lot of pain to other people because they're hurting, right? Those kind of people that have suffered a lot, and then they just cause a lot of suffering to others.
Yeah.
Because they have pain. And yeah, that's basically what's happening with these demoniac people, except it's not innocent. It's like it's like,
yeah,
it's a denial. Like if somebody, I mean, even those people that have had a hard life and then they end up being abusive to others because of that.
They feel like if I have gone through such things, how that other person is happy. He should also
Yeah,
go on those things.
exactly.
How is he happy? How is he happy?
So I mean, it's not innocent, it's still, it may be like, they may not be conscious of it, but subconsciously that's what it is, right? I'm not happy, so they shouldn't be happy either. So I want to just like kill their happiness and do something, yeah, to put them down. So, yeah, uber karma. Okay. All right, now we're going to see what happens to these people. Tan aham dvishata kruran samsareshu naradaman kshipam yajashram ashubhan asurishveva yonishu. Divya? Maybe she's not there. Okay, Kritika, are you able to read or not? Probably not. All right, Pragati.
Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, I perpetually cast into the ocean of material existence, into various demonic species of life. In this verse, it is clearly indicated that the placing of a particular individual soul in a particular body is the prerogative of the supreme will. Prerogative of the supreme will. The demonic person may not agree to accept the supremacy of the Lord, and it is a fact that he may act according to his own whims, but his next birth will depend upon the decision of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and not on himself. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, it is stated that an individual soul after his death is put into the womb of a mother where he gets a particular type of a body under the supervision of superior power. Therefore, in the material existence, we find so many species of life, animals, insects, man, and so on. All are arranged by the superior power. They are not accidental. As for the demoniac, it is clearly said here that they are perpetually put into the wombs of demons, and thus they continue to be envious, the lowest of mankind. Such demonic species of men are held to be always full of lust, always violent and hateful, and always unclean. The many kinds of hunters in the jungle are considered to belong to the demonic species of life.
Yeah, so these demoniac people, they think they're doing well, but what happens at the end is that they get cast into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. So yeah, they kind of get what they deserve, which happens to everyone, right? Everybody gets what they deserve. And Krishna says that yam yam vapi smaram bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram. That yeah, whatever state of being you remember at the time of death, that state you attain. So if you're absorbed in demoniac thoughts, then you're going to take a demoniac birth. In other words, it's not just that you're the demon, but you're going to be born into a demoniac family with demoniac parents and demoniac brothers and sisters, and it's going to be a hellish life. So, Yeah, or, lucky if you get a human birth. But Prabhupada is saying here that, there are so many species of life, animals, insects, etc. So they might end up in a low species. So people, who just want to hurt other people or annoy them. So they might be a mosquito or a snake or a scorpion. And then they can just go around annoying people for the whole life and hurting people.
Yeah.
Or they become like a poison ivy plant or something that just grows all over and causes a lot of suffering. Or something like that. Snakes that slither around and scare people and bite people and poison people and kill people, because that was their consciousness. But then they also have to live in, like that existence, that life where they don't even have legs to walk. They just have to slither on the ground in their belly and live in a dark hole. And yeah, so not a good birth. And then it says that, they think that they're powerful, but when it comes to the next birth, it doesn't depend on their decision. It depends on the decision of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, it's like, I mean, in anything, like in education, in your job, in a home, you find out who is making important decisions that regard your life, right? Like what do you call those people?
Guide.
Like key stakeholders, or no, not stakeholders, but anyways, the person who is gonna decide whether you get a promotion in your job, the person who's gonna decide whether you pass the grade, the person who's gonna decide,
Bosses.
what whether you get accepted into the university or the whatever you're trying for, you get into the like athletic competition if you're a sports person, or you get to perform on stage if you're a musician, whatever, right? So there's certain people that you need to please in order to get what you want, right? In order to achieve your goals in life. And if you know that's the person who's going to make the decision about whether that's going to make or break your career, then you need to make sure you have a good relationship with that person, right? Other, if you just like insult the person, offend them, ignore them, blaspheme them, then that's not going to be good for you, right? They're going to find out and they're going to be like, I don't think so, right? And then that's the end of your career or your whatever, your journey to fame. So Krishna is that person. Krishna is the supreme controller. He's the person who's deciding where we go in our next life. So if you're smart, you're gonna try to make him happy, right? Worship him, offer him a flower, offer him a fruit, go to the temple, bow down to him, show him some respect, and somehow get him to think that you're a nice person so that he'll do good things for
Give
you.
him some bribe.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the highest level of, religious sentiment, but I mean, it's not like devotion, but it's just intelligent, right? It's like for a materialistic person, even if they have some materialistic desires, like sinful desires even, but it's like at least get God on your side, right? That's kind of what the demons, that's what like, Ravana and them did, at least with the demigods, they worshiped the demigods because they were worried that God wouldn't give them what they want, because what they wanted was to defeat God, right? So why would God give you that? But they wanted powers from the help of the demigods. But the thing is, yeah, we have to think about this, that I don't want to suffer in my next life. I don't want to be a snake or an insect. I want to have a nice next life, or maybe get liberated, and maybe even go back to Godhead. So for that, like that, it's not my call where I go in my next life. It's not up to me, it's up to the Lord. And so I need to make him happy, and then he'll help me out. At least he won't let me, he won't send me to some, animal species or hellish planet or something, at the very least. So, yeah, and then definitely don't do anything to hurt his devotees, because that's what really makes him mad. Right? Like we saw with Lord Nrsingadev. Hiranyakashipu was doing all kinds of things, but it wasn't until he tortured Prahlad that he was just like, all right, you're done. Okay, let's read one more verse. So this is continuing what happens to them after their death. Asurim yonim apanna mudha janmani janmani mama prapya eva kaunteya tato yantya damam gatim. Kunti?
Attaining repeated birth amongst a species of demoniac life. O son of Kunti, such persons can never approach me. Gradually they sink down to the most abominable type of existence. It is known that God is all merciful, but here we find that God is never merciful to the demoniac. It is clearly stated that the demoniac people, life after life, are put into the wombs of similar demons, and not achieving the mercy of the Supreme Lord, they go down and down, so that at last they achieve bodies like those of cats, dogs, and hogs. It is clearly stated that such demons have practically no chance of receiving the mercy of God at any stage of later life. In the Vedas also it is stated that such persons gradually sink to become dogs and hogs. It may be then argued in this connection that God should not be advertised as all-merciful if he is not merciful to such demons. In answer to this question, in the Vedanta Sutra, we find that the Supreme Lord has no hatred for anyone. The placing of the asuras, the demons, in the lowest status of life is simply another feature of his mercy. Sometimes the asuras are killed by the Supreme Lord, but this killing is also good for them. For in the Vedic literature, we find that anyone who's killed by the Supreme Lord becomes liberated. There are instances in history of many asuras, Ravana, Kamsa, and Hiranyakashipu, to whom the Lord appeared in various incarnations just to kill them. Therefore, God's mercy is shown to the asuras, if they're fortunate enough to be.
Hmm. Yeah. So that's one way that Krishna is merciful, is that he kills. And of course, at the end of Kali Yuga, Kalki comes and kills everyone, like all of the demoniac rascals, because at that point it's just all demons. Kalki just comes and mass destruction. But it's also merciful because, see, the thing is, if somebody's very sinful and demoniac, then they're getting a lot of bad karma. So Krishna's like, all right, become an animal and you won't have to get karma. You can eat meat, because if you're a tiger and you eat meat, you don't get bad karma for that. If you're human and you eat meat, then you get a lot of suffering. So, or if you want to have all kinds of like sex with so many different people, sister, mother, whatever, then just be a dog or a pig, because that's what they do. If you want to, yeah, just whatever things you want to do, you can do that in different animal forms. And if you want to sleep, then be a bear. And no worries, you can sleep for 6 months. No one's going to get on your case about it. No one's going to call you lazy, because that's what bears do. So yeah, in that sense, it's merciful, because and also the thing is that in the human form of life, there's always like some religious people around. You're walking down the street and there'll be some Christian Bible thumper there. There'll be some Jehovah's Witness trying to give you some little pamphlet. There'll be Hare Krishnas doing kirtan or something. So they're trying to remind you about God. Get out of here. I don't want to. God doesn't exist. God's dead. God's a myth or whatever. So if you're an animal, no one's going to talk to you about God. You don't even have the intellectual capacity to think about God. So it's like, Krishna's kind of like, okay, you don't want to think about me. You want to completely forget about me and just live your life. Go ahead, be an animal. You won't even be able to remember me, even if you want to. So it's like merciful, right? It's like, that's what you want. That's what you get. If you want to, do all these things that human beings get in trouble for. And if you want to forget about God, which only human beings, have the capacity to remember, then the human form of life is not for you, basically, right? It's you, like, you're just suffering in this human form of life and setting yourself up for future suffering. Just be an animal, and like, you can do all your sinful stuff guilt-free, no conscience and telling you, oh, what are you doing? This is unethical. So yeah. So that's another way in which it's mercy. That Krishna is he's actually fulfilling everyone's desires. Yeah, according to what we deserve, but he's creating a situation by which, okay, if this is the life you want, then this is the species for you. Okay, all right, we're at 5 o'clock here. Any last comments or questions?
I was just thinking with the last purport that if they're never gonna approach Krishna in their existence, then it's very important for us to preach to those
Yeah.
demonic people. But sometimes we feel that they don't listen to us. They don't even like how hard we try.
Hmm.
They don't.
Yeah, they're not interested. That's the
they're
whole
not
thing.
interested.
So we have to just try to somehow give them the holy name, give them prasadam, you know. Yeah, find some way to just inject Krishna consciousness in there without
Somehow.
their knowing, and I don't know, get them to engage in some service, even if they like hold the door open for a devotee or something like that, you know, they get some benefit, and then gradually that accumulates, and they get a little bit of piety, enough to maybe have them like go to the temple. So that's why it's good when we go out on Harinam, book distribution, things like big festivals like Rath Yatra that attract a lot of people. That they're really good. These big kirtan events that people like. So even people who are demoniac, some people might go for like meditation or something because they're stressed, because they're caught in a network of anxiety, right? So they know that they need to like chill. And so they might go for something like that. And yeah, so that's the thing, that as long as they're demonic, Krishna's not going to give them a chance, right? But as soon as they stop being demonic, then Krishna's like, okay, I think they're ready now. You know, it's not that they don't have any chance. And as long as they're in the human form of life, they're going to keep getting chances. And yeah. So when he says here that such persons can never approach me. Yeah, such persons. So as long as they still have such a mentality, demoniac mentality, then they can't approach him. And they go to, you know, different abominable types of existence. But as soon as their mentality changes, and they stop having a demoniac nature and they start having a little more of a divine nature, then they can start to approach Krishna. And they might approach him in the beginning, they might approach him for the wrong reasons, right? But at least they're approaching him and they'll get purified. So yeah, it's not that there's no hope, because these verses make it seem like there's absolutely no hope for them. But there's always some hope. That's the good thing about the cycle. You know, cycle of birth and death, like we don't like it because we don't want to have to take birth again and suffer again. But for people who are demoniac, it's good because, you know, it means you always get another chance, another lifetime, another chance. Whereas Christianity, it's like, all right, this one lifetime, and at the end, you know, you go to either heaven or hell and you stay there forever. That's it. It's the land of no return. You go to hell and you just burn for eternity. So in the Vedic conception, you might have to go to hell for some time, burn off some bad karma, and then when that's done, then, you know, you'll take birth, you know, the soul goes to an animal body and then you work your way up through the species and gradually come to human form again, and then you'll get a chance to like meet a devotee. But now because you've suffered all those species and the hellish punishment, then you've burned off a lot of bad karmic baggage. So you might be in a good position to actually take to spiritual life now, after going through the ringer like that, right? Yeah, so this cycle is good because you know, you get another chance. Oh, you miss it. It's like if you're on it's like you're on like a train that's going in a loop, and then there's a stop there that you should have gotten off on, right? And you miss the stop. It's like, okay, just stay on the train. And then the next time it goes around, get off, right? If you miss it, you could miss it a few times. Or you're in it, like in England, they have these traffic circles. They call them roundabouts, traffic circle. So it's like you miss your exit. It's okay, no worries. Just keep going around. And so it's like that. Our exit is exiting this material world and going back to Godhead. And if in one life you miss the exit, you get entangled because your attention is elsewhere, then just keep going, keep driving, keep chanting. And the chance is going to come again. So that's good. There's always light on the end of the tunnel. Okay. All right then. Let's see what's happening out here in space.
Oh, this actually also reminds me.
Everyone's just saying Radhe Radhe, amazing. And in India it's 3:28 a.m. All right, well, thanks for staying up late to listen to Bhagavad Gita. All right, Krishna. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.